Welcome, everyone. I'm Laura DeFranco, the CEO of Brave Healer Productions, where we have a mission to wake the world up to what is possible. And here today to help me with that mission is the lead author of Holistic Mental Health. Calm, clear, and in control for the rest of your life. Welcome, Miss Laura Mazzotta. I have another Laura with me today.
Thank you so much. So excited to be here.
I am too. And you guys, this book, this beautiful book is out and ready for your purchase on Amazon. And we are going to talk about it today and this really, really important topic. Laura Mazzotta is a spiritual empowerment coach, healer, and therapist with over 18 years of experience. Her mission is to guide intuitive women into ditching indecision, chronic symptoms, and burnout by confidently owning their multifaceted gifts and experiencing intimacy, wellness, and freedom. I love those words. They're giving me goosebumps. Intimacy, wellness, and freedom. Oh my goodness. Okay, let's start today by having you share just a little bit of your story. How did you get here doing what you're doing today?
Sure. So I've been a therapist for almost 20 years in New York and have a thriving private practice and absolutely love what I do. And, to the point where I had to scale back, right? Because I was giving too much at one point. And then I got sepsis in 2016, and I was 30 minutes from not being here anymore. And I had quite the physical recovery from that point. And I had really exhausted Western medicine approaches and had been told that I was just going to continue to decompensate. And they wanted to put me on a ton of medication and said that I just needed to kind of prepare for not doing well. And I just didn't believe in it. I just didn't believe it. And I didn't see that for my future. And so I started looking into ways that I could heal myself. And so I started seeing naturopaths and started playing with Reiki and energy work. And it's funny because at first I didn't really understand it at all cognitively, but the results were staggering. It was unbelievable. And I really was opened up to this completely new world that I had not been educated on, that took healing to a level of depth that I had never even touched in the traditional medical or mental health world. And it got to the point where all of the suggestions that I'd be giving my clients were outside of the traditional mental health box, because I knew that they were sustainable. I knew that they were ones that were not just going to keep them in a cycle. And that's what I saw for 20 years, was people just staying in the mental health system and coming in and out of the cycle. And it's frustrating for people who are trying really, really hard to feel good and to heal, right? And they're just like hitting their heads against the wall. So it's beautiful that we have access to so much greater depth and sustainability now with these practices.
How does one get sepsis? What happened?
So the funny part is that they don't know. They don't know because it can really come from anywhere. It typically comes from a bacteria, but they weren't able to find the source of sepsis within my body. And what they did find was that I had an immunodeficiency. They sent me down to New York City to the top immunological researchers and found that I just don't have any of the proteins in my immune system to fight infection. So I started doing plasma infusions at the time, and people who are immunodeficient are much more likely to get life-threatening illness.
So one of the reasons I asked you to answer that question is because of so many people get we don't know what's wrong with you.
Mm-hmm.
And oh man, if you're listening and that's you, we know how that feels. And it just will dump you into hopelessness so fast.
Mm-hmm.
And imagine, all of the things that might have been going through Laura's head at that point. If you're somebody that has been talked to like that, somebody said that to you, we don't know what's wrong with you. Then all of a sudden, you start to make that mean whatever. But what I love about you the most, Laura, is you're like, I'm not accepting that. Like, but there's something better. Like, and you started the journey with that mindset shift.
Yeah.
Yes, so important. You want to say more about that?
Yeah. The thing that's coming up right now is it's not, it's yes, it's about, we don't know what's wrong with you. But then there's also the other side of the coin here, which is literally 48 hours after I was discharged from the hospital, they sent me to a neurologist who said, oh, because one of the common symptoms of sepsis is rigor. So your whole body shakes. And so my whole body was shaking for like weeks and even months after sepsis. And so I went in and he's like, here's some Xanax. Like, you're just nervous. You're fine. Meanwhile, the next morning I was in an ambulance again, and I went back to the hospital and sepsis was still active. So it had nothing to do with that. So that's the other piece, is not just there's nothing wrong with you, but we are going to put you in the anxiety bucket because we don't know what's wrong with you. And since we don't have an answer, we assume it's psychological. Right. And so that's the other piece that comes up that is infuriating. Because not only that, they're going to give me this benzo, this Xanax, to just kind of shut me up and move me on, because that's what I found a lot of, is there's a lot of ego around what if I'm wrong, right? And there's a lot of CYA, covering your ass, in that industry. So I think there's a couple sides to that I think are important for people to know, because I'm sure that there's somebody out there who's heard both.
CYA. I think that's the first time I've heard those initials. And
Really?
yeah, I mean, I know it's surprising, right? CYA. I mean, I heard the term, but just not that it had its own initials now. I'm so
Yes.
thrilled. Yeah, I think, again, speaking to our listeners, you all have been with doctors who were CYAing themselves, you know?
Mhm.
Okay, so you've already touched on this, but let's get into it a little bit deeper. Why holistic mental health? Let's talk about this.
Yeah, because, there's so many layers to everything that we experience in our bodies, in our minds, and our emotions. And when we look at just traditional mental health, we look at evidence-based practices that's based on data, that's based on research. And that's great. And it does serve its purpose. Don't get me wrong. But the fact is, like I always say, we're all snowflakes, right? We're all completely different. And yes, we're made of the same building blocks, but they're all in different patterns for each of us. And so there is not a one size fits all for every person. I can't tell you the number of people that have come through my doors who, yeah, they may all have the same quote unquote diagnosis, but number one, they can feel kind of trapped in that and feel like they're deficient in some way, rather than saying, okay, what just makes you you? Like, let's talk about your uniqueness. Let's talk about those idiosyncrasies that you or other people in your life might criticize or think are too much, or are off the beaten path and don't fit into traditional definitions of success, right? Like, let's identify who you are so that we can maximize exactly what you're here for and here to do. And especially when we negate the spiritual component, it really just looks at our egoic agenda of, okay, what is it that you want to achieve in this lifetime versus what are you meant to achieve? What did your soul come here for? What is your deeper, long-lasting purpose?
Man, if you think about that last question, it's big.
Mm-hmm.
But Laura, what if I have no clue?
Right. Well, that's what's hilarious is, so I have this great story. Don't worry, it's a short one. One of my clients that I saw for years, love her so much. And she was like trying to decide which career path to go on. She's in college. She's trying to decide what she wants to do. And so, we were kind of reflecting back and forth. And I was like, it really sounds like you're being drawn to this path. And I said, that makes a lot of sense. And then she was somebody who was open. This was like right when I had started to introduce Reiki and the Akashic Records and energy work into my sessions. And she's like, let's open the records. And I was like, okay. So we did. And we opened them up, and the records are like, yeah, no, you guys are both wrong. It's the other way. And that's the thing, right? It's like, if I can sit across from you and I'm very well educated, I'm very intuitive, I'm very connected to my relationships with my clients and be able to give you really solid feedback. But if I can't know and see your soul's purpose, how am I going to know what you're meant for? Right. And so we access that. For me, I'm practiced at it because I've been doing it for years, but it's something everybody can access. You can access that relationship with God through prayer, through meditation, through the Akashic Records, so many different ways, through nature.
Okay, so briefly, for people who are just hearing the term Akashic Records for the first time today, Give us a little summary.
Sure. So the Akashic Records are basically like a spiritual library in the clouds. And so there's a book in that library for every single soul that's ever sparked into existence. And when you enter this space through a ritual, which is just like oming and going into meditation and accessing it energetically, it's like that record opens for you, and you get to ask any question you want to angels, higher beings, God, loved ones who have passed, about information for your soul. So that could be past lives, current life, future lives, relationships, money, health, etc. And it's not, and that the information that comes back is specific to you and your soul's journey.
And I love that we're talking about holistic mental health in terms of your soul's purpose. I want everyone to pause there for a minute and understand that if you've never even really connected the two, you have an immense opportunity today to begin to think about this, and in a way that could heal those pieces, right? It could be some missing puzzle pieces, missing link. It's really, really exciting. And I just want to say thank you, Laura, thanks for saying yes to this project. It took some guts. And mental health is, oh man, a really deep subject. It's been so taboo to talk about just out loud in the world about the fact that you feel like you need help in the mental health realm. It was difficult to find someone who would say to me, yeah, Laura, I'll help you with that book. Like, I'll be vulnerable. Like, let's tell these stories and let's get it out there. So thanks for being the one to say yes. And I want to say a quick thank you to all your beautiful co-authors for the same thing. And I wondered if you had any other words you wanted to share about them and about that community that you built.
I am so over the moon and proud of this community of people. Like, I can literally say, I absolutely adore every single human being that's in this volume. Every single one of them is brilliant, heart-centered, and fully here to serve humanity, like fully here to serve. And man, every single one of them was emotional and vulnerable. And this was a huge healing process for every single one of us. And of course, it always is when you write your story, but there's an intimacy in this group, I think, because of the topic, and people were sharing things that were so raw and so deep for them, that everybody was saying, like, it feels like we're a family. It feels like we're so connected. I mean, the intimacy for me is everything. I love just connecting and relationship. And I think that's what provides such a beautiful foundation for this book for people, but also so many avenues to access no matter what you're going through. There's all these people are willing to welcome you with open arms.
Yes, they definitely are. It's one of the main things I want you all to know about these beautiful books is, you're going to be gifted with vulnerable stories that are going to help you feel not alone. And then you have the experts' master teachings on the subject right in the book for you to try these exercises and practices and tools and strategies for yourself. And if you have been to 10 therapists, doctors, whatever, we want you to know that there's something. There's something to have hope, to keep seeking. And we hope to give you not only the book and the tools, but the community, like Laura's talking about. Okay, so that kind of gets me to your subtitle. So, calm, clear, and in control for the rest of your life. Like, that's a bold subtitle, girl. But you are very passionate about the possibilities people have for healing and living an amazing life. And I love, I've told you I'm in love with this subtitle. Talk to me more about how you think about what in control means.
Yeah, I mean, in control is really feeling like you're your own best authority. So you're the rock that you're returning to when your emotions are like this. You're the rock, your essence, that core version of you is what you can always rely on. Your belief systems, your who you know you yourself to be, without all the conditioning, without all the humans, without all the feedback, without your success or accolades or anything like that. Who are you at the core? Because when you know that, no matter what's going on around you, no matter what is thrown to you, you have the confidence to remember, nope, that's not in alignment with who I am. Nope, that is not something I'm available for, because I know who I am and I know my purpose and I know what I value. And that's what I'm focused on, and continuing to hold that vision. When you do, I mean, honestly, control isn't even a word that matters anymore. It doesn't even matter. It doesn't even come into the conversation because you're so solid. And that's my goal. That's why I call myself an empowerment and a confidence coach, because it's like remember who you are and claim it and accept it and appreciate it and celebrate the hell out of it, right? Like that's your foundation. And that in that way, when you have personal authority over your internal landscape, nothing can rock you, and you're going to have control in every other area.
I love what you said just now about the term in control just ceases to be a thing when you're in this place that you're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
That feels really amazing.
Mm-hmm.
And it's reachable for, again, listeners. This is a reachable place that you can arrive in your life. And I have experienced inklings of the feeling, and then you think to yourself, well, okay, what if this happens, then what, right? But it's going to be for everything.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to be for every what if this happens, because of that solid foundation that Laura's talking about. So important for people to have the hope that they can get there.
Yeah. And I have to be honest, I think that's one of the biggest things that this book offers is tools for trusting yourself, trusting the universe, trusting the journey. And is it going to happen immediately in a split second? For some people, it will. And for some people, it's going to take them some time to practice. So be patient with yourself and don't make yourself wrong for whatever timeline you have. Trust your pace.
Many people go for traditional psychotherapy to help with mental health issues. And there's one piece here that I want to say to everyone, that is good, and many people are helped by those conversations and that analysis and that attention and caring. And why in some cases is that not enough?
Because I think a lot of times, I mean, a lot of times it depends on the practitioner. It depends on the relationship and the intimacy that connects there. But, I think that a lot of it is done cognitively. A lot of it is done in our minds, and we're not attending to all the layers. I mean, we're taught in our assessments to really cover most of those layers. But we're not really, we shy away as traditional therapists from the spiritual and energetic talk. And that's a piece that allows you to become aware of the subtleties of how you're operating. So there's the obvious stuff, and there's what interferes with your functioning, and what does my day-to-day look like? And then there's the subtleties where, I have tea next to me and I have water, and it's like, which one am I feeling into? What feels good for me? And those tiny little micro shifts in every moment that you make for yourself, when you understand your subtle energy, those are the building blocks that get you to know yourself so intimately that you know exactly, if somebody calls you, I don't want that phone call. I'm not picking it up. I'm not available for it.
The subtle energy is so exciting to me.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to help people move into another level of living that they maybe didn't even know existed.
Mm-hmm.
And it sometimes takes a good mentor coach to bring you to the awareness of it. Once you're in there and playing, it just gets more powerful and more fun. Again, speaking from some experience of no matter how long I've worked on that, I get to have another layer, another up leveling into magic. It feels like magic to me some days.
Yep.
Yeah, it's amazing. Okay, listen, you have a lot going on other than this beautiful book. You want to talk a little bit about your offers and the way you work with people and what you have going on right now?
Sure. So one of the best ways to connect with me is through a vibrational assessment. It's just $33. It's a 15, 20-minute Zoom call where we jump on and I really do assess all of those layers. That's one of my superpowers is I can just shoot right to the core and be like, this is what you need in order to be able to move on. You get to decide whether or not you take that guidance, but it's a beautiful way to kind of touch base and say, all right, where are you? Where do you desire to go? And how can you get there? Right. And then I can invite you into a whole host of opportunities to be able to continue to expand. So some people are going to want to work on their intuition so they can say, okay, I don't really want your answers. I want to learn my intuition so that I can have my own answers. Right. That's my favorite. I freaking love that because I love people to empower themselves to say, yeah, I want to know this soup to nuts. And that's where I teach you intuitively through the Akashic Records how to navigate and know your subtle energy and connect to all of these layers yourself, for yourself and your loved ones. And I also have programs for spiritual humans who really want to share this with the world. Like they want to help other people heal. And so, and honestly, one of my favorite things to do is to guide therapists in this space too, because anybody who's in traditional healthcare or traditional mental health care, I love being able to teach them how to make this a hybrid approach with energetic and spiritual modalities so that they feel more confident and calm in their sessions. They don't have to rack their brains figuring shit out, right? They can just tap in and have this clarity, which makes their work so much more efficient. But it also allows them to approach healing in a more individualistic, holistic way.
Yes, it's so exciting. Okay, you guys, and maybe you're listening and you're like, damn, I want to be in that book. Well, guess what? Holistic Mental Health Volume 2 is coming in 2023, and you might be an author expert, wannabe author. And so just scroll down into the show notes. I have Laura hooked up with her website there. You can connect with her. You can ask her about the second book. You can go grab your copy of the first book today on Amazon. Laura, any last words for our listeners today that just kind of need a simple stepping stone on the journey?
Yeah, I think that the first thing and the most important thing, in my opinion, is to open up space for yourself, because none of this work can occur if you're going 8,000 miles a minute and not leaving 2 minutes to have a mindful moment, or 2 minutes to read a page of a chapter, or to gaze at a candle, or to go outside and put your feet on the ground for a minute, right? Like you need space for your mind to clear. You need space to devote to yourself, because that shows your mind and body, I am prioritizing me. I am committed to me. I am devoted to myself, and I am important to me. And it's very important that even if you don't do anything in those couple minutes, but you just intentionally start to open up a little bit of space for yourself, you'll find that more will arrive, because that's what people say. I don't have enough time. I don't have enough time. But guess what? And man, I was one of those people. I was one of those people counting my freaking hours, and everything was back to back. So I know it very well. And as I opened up space, feeling scared to do it, but did it anyway, more kept showing up. And I was like, oh, this is brilliant. So open up some space.
Yes, I love it. Thank you so much for what you do in the world and for being here today to share it with everyone.
You're welcome. Thanks for having me.
All right, you guys. Again, drop on down to the show notes, explore Laura's website, connect with her. What's one of the best things and the most exciting things about our books is that you have a community of people very generously there for you to take this conversation to the next step, to support you, to answer a question. So have a click on Laura's website and connect with her. And if you're ready, hop over to Amazon, grab your copy of the book. I'll have the link down below as well. And lastly today, everyone, remember, your words change the world when you're brave enough to share them. So it's time to be brave. See you next time, everyone.